Imagine waking up every morning with absolute clarity, not half awake, scrolling through noise, but centered, focused, unshaken by what the world throws at you. Picture yourself moving through chaos and never losing calm. Distractions pull at you, yet you remain still. Temptations whisper, yet you stay firm. You don't just survive the day, you command it. It sounds almost impossible, doesn't it? To be unmoved while the world trembles, to be calm while everything burns. And yet, one man lived that way every single day of his life. He was a warrior, a ruler, a philosopher. His name? Marcus Aurelius. 2,000 years ago, as the Roman Empire trembled under war and plague, Marcus stood alone in his tent, writing not to impress the world, but to master himself. Those writings became his private journal, Meditations. Words meant only for him, yet they would survive for centuries, because the truth inside them is eternal. What if you could learn what he learned? To transform pain into power, to turn emotion into clarity, to build discipline so strong that nothing could shake you. This isn't about ancient philosophy. It's about living armor, a code forged through fire, forged to endure chaos, temptation, and failure. Marcus Aurelius didn't just rule Rome. He ruled himself. And that is the ultimate victory. Because the greatest enemy you'll ever face is not out there, it's within. Before we continue, take a moment. If this path calls to you, if something inside you is stirring, subscribe to Inner Citadel. This is where we study strength, discipline, and peace, not as ideas, but as a way of life. What you're about to hear isn't just philosophy, it's training for the mind, a guide to mastering the only kingdom you can truly rule, yourself. So stay until the end, because what begins now is the journey from distraction to discipline, from weakness to wisdom. The enemy within. Every war begins somewhere, but the greatest war begins inside. No sword, no shield, just a mind at war with itself. The Stoics called this the battle for mastery, not over others, but over one's own impulses, over fear, over ego, over the endless whisper that says, "Not today." Every time you choose comfort over purpose, those whispers win. Every time you hesitate, complain, or compare, the enemy grows stronger. And the enemy doesn't live out there. It's not society, it's not circumstance. It's you. It's your doubts, your excuses, the stories you tell yourself about why you can't, won't, or shouldn't. Marcus Aurelius knew this truth well. He ruled an empire, but in the pages of his journal, he fought himself. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Until you conquer the mind, you'll be ruled by it. And the moment anger, pride, or fear leads you, you hand over your throne." So the question becomes, who rules you? Every reaction is a test. A rude comment, a delay, an unexpected setback. Each one asks, are you in control or are you controlled? That's the question Stoicism forces us to face, and no one can answer it for you. But awareness, that's where the war begins. Because once you see the enemy, you can start to fight back. The Stoic fight isn't waged in noise. It's fought in silence. in the quiet moments when no one's watching. Epictetus warned, "No man is free who is not master of himself." That's not a metaphor. That's a mission. You were born into battle, a war of attention, emotion, and ego. Most people surrender before the first strike. They scroll instead of study, react instead of reflect, chase applause instead of purpose. But not you, because you're beginning to see what the Stoics saw, that every moment of irritation is an opportunity to train. Every frustration is a forge, every failure, a fire refining the will. When life tests you, don't curse it, face it, use it. The Stoics didn't avoid difficulty, they transformed it. They turned anger into clarity, fear into focus, chaos into calm. And that's the paradox of discipline. It feels like restriction, but it creates freedom. Because once you control your impulses, they no longer control you. Freedom isn't doing whatever you want. It's being unshaken by what you don't need. Ask yourself, what rules you today? Habit, fear, approval, or purpose? Your answer reveals where the battle still rages. The mind you ignore becomes the master you serve. The mind you observe becomes the ally of the will. That's your will. That's what the Stoics called true power. So before you continue, pause for a moment. Breathe. Watch your thoughts drift by and let them pass. You just won your first battle today. And if you're ready for the next, stay here inside the inner citadel, because the war isn't over. It's just begun. Next, forged by adversity. How Marcus Aurelius turned every hardship into strength. Forged by adversity. No soul becomes strong by accident. Strength is forged, not granted. And the forge of life is adversity. Marcus Aurelius knew this truth intimately. He didn't write his wisdom in comfort. He wrote it surrounded by war, disease, and betrayal. When the Roman Empire began to crumble, he didn't retreat. He reflected. He faced famine, plague, rebellion, and yet his words remained calm. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. This is the Stoic paradox. Obstacles don't block your path. They are the path. Every hardship is raw material. Every failure, a teacher. Every loss, a test of your composure. Adversity isn't your punishment. It's your training ground. Fire tests gold. Struggle tests the soul. And those who refuse the flame remain unshaped, untempered, unready. Marcus understood this. He wrote by candlelight while storms raged beyond his tent, reminding himself that pain wasn't the enemy, it was the sculptor. When he was betrayed by friends, he practiced forgiveness. When plague struck Rome, he practiced duty. When despair whispered, he practiced stillness. That's what Stoicism really is, a form of mental training. Not to avoid pain, but to use it. Because without resistance, no strength can grow. Look back on your own life. The times that shaped you most, were they easy? Or were they filled with friction? That's the truth Marcus lived by, that growth and comfort cannot coexist. So when the world burns, don't curse the fire. Step into it. Because what it burns away was never truly yours. Slow, steady. Marcus Aurelius didn't just survive adversity. He transmuted it. Every hardship became energy. Every loss, a lesson. Every wound, wisdom. He realized that pain has only two possible outcomes. It breaks you, or it builds you. And that choice is always yours. Seneca wrote, "Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor strengthens the body." The Stoics didn't seek suffering for suffering's sake. They sought understanding. They knew the only way to live without fear of pain was to walk through it willingly. So when you face challenges, don't ask why me, ask what is this teaching me? Because in every trial lies a hidden lesson about patience, humility, or courage. And if you're willing to face it, the lesson becomes strength. Marcus learned this while leading armies through mud, while watching his friends die from plague. He refused to collapse inward. Instead, he turned outward to duty, virtue, and purpose. He asked himself, "Is this under my control?" If yes, he acted. If not, he accepted. That was his formula for peace amid chaos. You too can apply this. Next time you're tested, pause. Ask yourself what the Stoics would ask. What stands in the way? And how can it become the way? That question alone turns pain into power. The mind you strengthen through adversity becomes unbreakable. The heart you train in loss becomes compassionate. The spirit you discipline in struggle becomes unstoppable. If you've ever faced something that nearly broke you, but you're still here, you already know this truth. You've been forged. You've survived the fire. Now it's time to wield the strength it gave you. So stay with us, because in the next chapter, we'll explore how discipline begins not with motivation, but with purpose. Because once you've been forged by adversity, you're ready to discover why you fight.
The power of purpose.
Survival is instinct, but purpose is choice. Marcus Aurelius believed that purpose is where discipline begins. Without it, we drift, easily distracted, easily broken. But with it, we move through storms with steady hearts. He wrote, "A man's worth is measured by the objects of his pursuit." To the Stoics, that meant something profound. You become what you chase. If you chase pleasure, you become restless. If you chase wealth, you become dependent. But if you chase purpose, you become free. Marcus found his purpose not in conquest, but in contribution. Not in control, but in service. He saw his duty to Rome, to reason, to virtue, as sacred. Every decision, every word was weighed against that compass. When you know your purpose, you stop wasting energy on what doesn't matter. The noise fades, temptation weakens, and what once felt like discipline becomes direction. Think about it. What drives you? What would you still do if no one watched, applauded, or cared? That's your compass. That's your calling. And without it, no system, no motivation, no philosophy will last. Purpose gives discipline meaning. It's what turns endurance into devotion. And when you align your actions with it, life stops feeling like resistance and starts to feel like rhythm. Marcus didn't wake up searching for inspiration. He woke up remembering his duty. That's the Stoic way, to begin each day not with desire, but with direction. To Marcus Aurelius, purpose wasn't something you invented. It was something you discovered. He called it living in accordance with nature. Not nature as trees and rivers, but as your own nature. the essence of who you were meant to be. Each of us was built with unique strength, unique curiosity, unique duty. Your role might not be to rule an empire, but to master your craft, to guide others, to live with quiet excellence. When you act in harmony with that truth, you stop fighting yourself. Your actions align. Your mind steadies. Discipline becomes natural. Marcus didn't chase ease, he chased integrity. He wrote, "At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, remember your duty as a human being." That's not guilt, it's guidance. It's a reminder that life itself is a mission. So, what does living with purpose look like? It's not grand speeches or endless planning. It's small, consistent acts of alignment. Doing what you said you would do, holding to your word even when no one sees. Choosing meaning over momentary pleasure. Each act may feel small, but together, they build the architecture of a life well lived. When you live with purpose, discipline stops feeling like sacrifice. It becomes self-respect. It becomes peace. If this idea stirs something in you, pause here for a moment. Ask yourself one question. What would Marcus expect of me today? Then act on it, because that is how purpose is practiced, not in theory, but in motion. And as you move with purpose, you begin to see what Marcus saw, that the truest strength comes not from power over others, but from alignment within. Next, Section 5, The Modern Prison, where we uncover how comfort, distraction, and technology became the new chains of the human mind.
The modern prison. The Stoics warned us about losing control of our minds, but they could never have imagined this. A world where distraction isn't an accident, it's a design. Every sound, every scroll, every flicker of the screen was built to steal the most precious thing you have, your attention. We call it freedom. But how free can we be if we can't even sit in silence for 60 seconds without reaching for escape? Look around you. No chains, no guards, no walls, and yet billions live as prisoners, trapped not by iron, but by impulse. The Romans had their gladiators, we have algorithms, both designed for one purpose, to keep the crowd entertained and distracted from what truly matters. Marcus Aurelius fought barbarians at his borders. We fight notifications in our pockets. Different weapons, same war. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." But now, outside events live in our hands. They vibrate, they call, they addict. We live in a world that rewards consumption over creation, noise over thought, comfort over challenge. We scroll through the lives of others and forget to live our own. And when silence comes, we panic. Because the modern prison isn't built of walls, it's built of convenience. And the key to escape is discomfort. If comfort is the cage, then awareness is the crack in the wall. And that's where freedom begins, not by throwing away your phone, but by reclaiming your focus. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." Today, that retreat has become harder to find, because we've traded stillness for stimulation. We've mistaken comfort for happiness and distraction for connection. But the Stoics knew, a restless mind cannot be free. They sought discomfort voluntarily, fasting, sleeping on the floor, embracing simplicity, not as punishment, but as practice. Because when you strip away comfort, you see what truly matters. When you deny luxury, you rediscover gratitude. And when you face silence, you finally hear your own thoughts. That's what it means to escape the modern prison. Not to abandon the world, but to stop being owned by it. To pick up your phone with purpose, not reflex. To rest, not to escape. To consume, not to numb. Every time you resist the pull, you reclaim a piece of your freedom. So, the next time you feel that urge to scroll, pause. Ask yourself, am I choosing this or is it choosing me? That question is the door. Awareness is the key. And discipline is how you walk through it. If this message resonates, don't just agree, act. Take 1 hour today to sit in silence without stimulation. Let your mind wander. Let boredom breathe. That's not wasted time, that's freedom training. Because once you can be still, the noise of the world loses power over you. Next, Section 6, the moment of recognition, where awareness turns into awakening and you begin to see yourself not as a prisoner, but as the architect of your own mind. The moment of recognition. Awareness is the beginning of freedom. But true awakening begins the moment you see yourself clearly. Not as you pretend to be, not as the world expects you to be, but as you are, unfiltered, unguarded, unmasked. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Look well into yourself. There is a source of strength which will always spring up if you will always look." That's the moment of recognition, when you stop searching outside for power and discover that it was within you all along. You've spent years being conditioned to chase approval, to avoid silence, to live through other people's lenses. And yet beneath all that noise, something inside you has remained untouched. Call it the inner citadel, your calm center, your untamed strength, the fortress built from awareness itself. The Stoics believed this place exists in everyone. It's where reason lives, where peace waits, where the self returns home. Recognition is not about self-criticism, it's about self-honesty. Seeing where you've lied to yourself and forgiving it, recognizing where fear has ruled and releasing it. That's the work, that's the awakening. And once you see clearly, you can no longer live unconsciously. You begin to understand what the Stoics meant by know thyself, because once you know who you are, you can no longer be manipulated by what you are not. This is the quiet revolution, not against the world, but against your own illusions. But recognition alone is not enough. Awareness must lead to alignment, and that begins with reclaiming control. Marcus Aurelius understood that the mind, once seen, must be guided. Without direction, awareness drifts into confusion. But with purpose, it transforms into power. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." The moment of recognition is when you finally understand this. You cannot control the world, but you can control how you meet it. You cannot stop the storm, but you can learn to stand in it. That realization alone is the birth of freedom. Most people live as if the world must change for them to be happy. The Stoic lives knowing that he must change himself to meet the world with peace. It's a reversal, a quiet revolution, and it begins right here, in your awareness of thought, your ownership of choice. Try this. Next time frustration arises, don't react. Observe it. Notice where it begins, a thought, a trigger, a story. And ask yourself,
Is this within my control? If the answer is yes, act. If the answer is no, release. That one question is the Stoic sword, sharp, silent, liberating. Because the one who masters that question masters himself. Every emotion becomes a signal. Every challenge becomes a mirror. Every choice becomes a chance to return to the inner citadel. If you're beginning to see yourself more clearly, if this message feels like something awakening inside, don't rush it. Sit with it. That stillness you feel right now is awareness, pure and powerful. Welcome it. That's the beginning of mastery. Next, Section 7, The Weight of Self-Reliance, where we learn that true strength comes not from dependence, but from trusting your own reason. The weight of self-reliance. The moment you awaken to your own power, a new challenge begins, standing on your own. Marcus Aurelius learned this truth as both emperor and man. Even surrounded by advisors, armies, and ceremony, he wrote alone, thought alone, and faced his doubts alone. Because self-reliance isn't isolation, it's independence of mind. The Stoics believed that to live freely, you must first stop depending on the world to keep you stable. Seneca wrote, "A man who depends on fortune is lost when fortune changes." And fortune always changes. You can't depend on applause. You can't depend on comfort. You can't depend on anyone else to give you peace. Because when your peace depends on others, you hand them the keys to your mind. Self-reliance doesn't mean you reject people. It means you stand firm even when no one understands. It means you act with integrity even when no one's watching. It means your sense of worth comes not from being liked, but from being aligned. Marcus knew this weight well. He ruled an empire that often doubted him. Yet in the solitude of his tent, he wrote not to please, but to strengthen. Ask yourself, what would you do if no one ever applauded again? Would your purpose remain? Would your discipline hold? That's the test of self-reliance. To be rooted enough that silence cannot shake you. Because solitude, when embraced, becomes not loneliness, but liberation. And that liberation begins when you learn to trust your own reason. The Stoics called reason the divine spark within. It was their compass, their law, their connection to truth. Marcus wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." That's the essence of Stoic reason. Clarity over confusion, truth over convenience. To rely on yourself means to trust your own judgment, not blindly, but consciously. It means learning to think clearly amid a world of noise, to question your emotions without denying them, to separate what feels true from what is true. Reason is not cold, it's compassionate. It understands emotion without being enslaved by it. It's the voice that whispers, "Stay calm, choose virtue, act with purpose." And when you listen, you stand unshaken. Because the one who trusts his reason no longer fears uncertainty. He doesn't wait for permission. He doesn't beg for validation. He acts, he observes, he adjusts, and he endures. That's Stoic power. Not arrogance, but autonomy. When you trust your reason, you no longer need to control others. You control yourself, and that's enough. If this message resonates, let it settle deep within you. Repeat this quietly. I am my own foundation. My peace is mine to build. That's not pride. That's peace. Next, Section 8, the discipline of desire, where we explore how the Stoics mastered the art of wanting less and gained everything that truly mattered. The discipline of desire. Desire, the force that drives empires, builds worlds, and destroys them. The Stoics warned, the moment you need something to feel whole, you surrender your peace. Marcus Aurelius saw this truth unfold every day. He ruled the most powerful empire on earth, and yet he wrote more about self-control than conquest. He said, very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking. Desire isn't evil, it's energy. But when left unchecked, it burns through everything: focus, gratitude, presence. The Stoics called it the fire of wanting, a fire that, if not tended, turns from warmth into wildfire. Think about it. We live in a world that monetizes craving. You're told you need more wealth, more approval, more speed. But the more you chase, the emptier you feel, because desire is a hunger that feeds itself. The Stoic path reverses that. It asks not, how can I get more, but how much can I live without? Because freedom doesn't come from satisfying every craving. It comes from mastering the craving itself. Epictetus wrote, wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. To the Stoic, every unnecessary desire was a chain waiting to be broken. And when those chains fall, what remains is something far greater: contentment. The Stoics mastered what few in history ever have: the art of enough. They practiced gratitude not as an emotion, but as discipline. Each day, Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, do not indulge in dreams of having what you do not have. Instead, think of the blessings you possess. In a world obsessed with more, they found joy in less. Not from lack, but from clarity. They realized that wanting endlessly is just another form of fear. Fear of emptiness, fear of insignificance, fear of sitting still. But when you stop running, you start seeing. You begin to notice how much beauty already surrounds you, how much peace hides in simplicity, how much freedom lives in restraint. That's what Stoic desire looks like. Not suppression, but selection. Wanting wisely. To practice this, choose one thing you think you need, and go a day without it. Notice the discomfort. Notice the craving. And realize you are stronger than both. Every moment of restraint is a declaration of independence. Because when you master desire, you stop being a slave to circumstance, and what remains is serenity. If these words resonate, try this simple vow. I will not seek more, I will seek meaning. That vow alone can change a life. Next, Section 9, the Art of Endurance, where we explore how Stoicism transforms suffering into strength that lasts forever. The Art of Endurance. Everyone admires strength, but few understand what it costs. The Stoics did. They knew real strength isn't about conquering others. It's about enduring yourself. Marcus Aurelius lived through betrayal, war, and disease. He buried his children, lost friends, faced constant chaos, and yet his words remained calm. If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment. That's endurance. Not denial, not numbness, but the strength to stay steady, even as the world collapses around you. Pain is inevitable, but suffering is a choice. The Stoics believed that every hardship is an opportunity to practice virtue, patience, courage, discipline, and that through endurance, the soul is refined. Seneca said, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." Each challenge you face is not punishment, it's polishing. It's the universe sharpening your soul. Most people run from pain. The Stoic walks through it, because they understand that peace earned through endurance is peace that cannot be taken away. And that's where the next lesson begins. Learning to love the fire that tempers you. The Stoic doesn't just endure life's hardships, he embraces them. Marcus Aurelius called it amor fati, the love of fate. The art of accepting everything that happens as necessary, as perfect, as training. Imagine that. To look at suffering and say, "This too serves me." It's not blindness, it's wisdom. Because once you stop resisting reality, you stop doubling your pain. When you accept what is, you conserve energy. You move with life, not against it. And what once felt unbearable becomes fuel for transformation. Marcus wrote, "The blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything that is thrown into it." That's the essence of endurance, to turn obstacles into oxygen. When life tests you, don't ask for it to be easier. Ask to be stronger. Don't curse the hardship. Study it. Learn what it reveals about your mind. Because every test you survive builds a layer of resilience that cannot be broken. Pain will visit. Fear will whisper. But you will remain. If these words echo something deep inside, remember this. You were not made to crumble. You were made to endure. Every breath you take in hardship is proof that your will is stronger than your pain. Next, Section 10, The Calm Within Chaos, where we learn how Stoics maintain peace not after the storm, but during it. The calm within chaos. The Stoic doesn't wait for peace, he creates it. Marcus Aurelius lived in a world of noise, wars, betrayal, politics, endless demands. And yet, in the midst of that chaos, he wrote of calm, of stillness, of the unshakable soul. He said, "Be like the rock against which the waves crash. It stands firm, and the raging of the sea falls still around it." That's the essence of Stoic peace, not an escape from the storm, but the discovery of stillness within it. Peace isn't found in the absence of noise. It's found in mastery of response. Because life will never slow down for you. The world won't stop shouting. But you can stop reacting. The Stoics trained themselves to pause before emotion could take command. That pause, that moment of observation, is where freedom begins. In that pause, you decide who you will be. In that silence, you separate what is real
from what is just noise. The mind that can stay still amid chaos is not weak, it's unbreakable. And once you find that stillness, you realize the chaos was never the enemy. It was the teacher. The Stoics called it the inner citadel, a fortress within the mind, a place no noise, no insult, no loss can reach. Marcus Aurelius built his there, brick by brick, thought by thought. Every time he paused instead of reacting, another wall rose. Every time he chose reason over anger, another stone was set. That's how the fortress grows, not through isolation, but through inner architecture. You build it through reflection, through restraint, through the quiet repetition of self-control. And soon, what once disturbed you no longer does. Not because life became easy, but because you became steady. Seneca wrote, "He who is brave is free." And courage isn't just facing danger, it's facing noise without losing clarity. The calm mind becomes the true leader, not shouting commands, but radiating certainty, not reacting, but responding with wisdom. When you embody calm, you stop adding to the chaos and start dissolving it. That's the power of peace. It spreads quietly. It influences without force. If you've ever felt overwhelmed, remember this: you don't need to escape the storm. You only need to find your still point within it. Close your eyes, breathe deeply, and whisper, "I am the calm within the chaos." Next, Section 11, the light of the citadel, where peace turns outward and your calm becomes a light for others. The light of the citadel. The Stoics believed that true strength isn't loud. It doesn't demand attention. It radiates quietly, like the sun that never boasts, yet gives life to all. Marcus Aurelius didn't rule through fear. He ruled through presence, through calm in the face of chaos, through grace under unrelenting pressure. He understood something most never learn. When you master yourself, you begin to guide others without even speaking. Your calm becomes contagious. Your discipline becomes magnetic. Your peace becomes leadership. The Stoics saw virtue as light, and every act of courage, of patience, of integrity was like a spark in the darkness. Think about it. You choose restraint over rage. You teach peace without a word. Every time you act with justice, you remind the world that honor still matters. That's the light of the citadel. The power to influence without dominance, to lead without control. Marcus wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. Your example is your message." The light of a disciplined soul doesn't just survive the darkness, it transforms it. So ask yourself, what kind of light am I shining today? One that flickers in fear, or one that steadies others in the storm? Let your calm become your message. Let your virtue become your voice. The Stoic path doesn't end with the self. It begins there. Once you've built your inner citadel, your next duty is to share its light. That doesn't mean preaching philosophy. It means living it so vividly that others feel its warmth in your presence. The Stoics believed the universe is one body, and every soul a cell within it. To strengthen yourself is to heal the whole. That's why virtue was never a private act. It was service. It was connection. It was love in action.
Every time you forgive when others seek revenge, you pass the flame. Every time you stay calm in conflict, you show another way to live. Every time you choose discipline over distraction, you keep the light alive. That's how a Stoic changes the world, not through noise, but through example. Your light won't always be seen, but it will always be felt. And somewhere, someone struggling to stay afloat might find their strength because of your steadiness. So when the world feels dark, don't curse the darkness. Light your candle. Be the calm voice, the patient heart, the steady hand, because the inner citadel isn't just your refuge, it's your gift to the world. Next, Section 12, the eternal practice, where the journey comes full circle and the Stoic path becomes a lifelong way of being. The eternal practice. There is no final victory in Stoicism, no finish line, no perfect day where discipline becomes effortless. The path is the point. Marcus Aurelius understood this better than anyone. He didn't write Meditations as a celebration of wisdom. He wrote it as reminders, daily, imperfect, human reminders. Because even an emperor woke up tired. Even a philosopher lost patience. Even the wise stumbled. But they returned over and over again to the practice. That's the eternal rhythm of Stoicism. Fall, reflect, rise. Fall, reflect, rise again. The Stoic life isn't about being perfect. It's about becoming a little more steady each day, a little more aware, a little more kind. Seneca wrote, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself." Each challenge you face is another opportunity to practice. Each mistake, a lesson written in motion. Each day, a new chance to begin again, stronger, clearer, freer. The Stoic doesn't ask, "When will this end?" He asks, "How can I grow through this?" Because wisdom isn't a destination. It's a daily return to reason, to peace, to presence. And that's where mastery truly begins, not in control, but in continuity. As the Stoic walks his path, he leaves no monuments, no trophies, only the quiet ripple of his character touching the world around him. That's the legacy of discipline, not fame, not recognition, but peace, passed silently from one soul to another. Marcus Aurelius never meant for his writings to be read. They were conversations with his own conscience. And yet today, they guide millions. That's the beauty of the Stoic flame. It endures across centuries, unmoved by time, untouched by death. Your practice can do the same. Because every act of restraint, every moment of reflection, every time you choose virtue over impulse, you strengthen not just yourself, but the human story. You are part of something timeless, a chain of souls who refused to be ruled by chaos and instead became light. So keep walking the path, keep building your inner citadel, keep returning again and again to the discipline that sets you free. Because the Stoic journey never ends, it only deepens. As the Stoic walks his path, he leaves no monuments, no trophies, only the quiet ripple of his character touching the world around him. That's the legacy of discipline. Not fame, not recognition, but peace, passed silently from one soul to another. As Marcus Aurelius never meant for his writings to be read, they were conversations with his own conscience, and yet today they guide millions. That's the beauty of the Stoic flame. It endures across centuries, unmoved by time, untouched by death. Your practice can do the same, because every act of restraint, every moment of reflection, every time you choose virtue over impulse, you strengthen not just yourself, but the human story. You are part of something timeless, a chain of souls who refused to be ruled by chaos and instead became light. So keep walking the path. Keep building your inner citadel. Keep returning again and again to the discipline that sets you free. Because the Stoic journey never ends. It only deepens. If this message reached something deep within you, then don't let it end here. Join us here inside the inner citadel, where every video is another step toward calm, clarity, and the strength to endure life with wisdom. If you halted yet, subscribe not just to a channel, but to a way of thinking that transcends the chaos. Each week, we explore timeless Stoic lessons from Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus. Teachings that remind us peace is not found in the world around us, but in the fortress within. So, if you seek calm in a noisy world and strength in uncertain times, subscribe to Inner Citadel and walk this path with us. Together, we'll keep building our fortress of reason, our sanctuary of peace, our citadel within. Until next time, my friend, stay grounded, stay strong, and keep practicing.